Hello and welcome to the Pitstop Power Hour presented by Race 92, where we bring you up to speed on everything that is anything in the motorsports universe. What's up, guys?
Hey,
Not too much.
How's it going?
How was you guys this weekend? Did you do anything fun?
Well, apparently my weekend was better than your weekend based on the fact that your finger is like
yeah, you
twitching or shaking or
got
something.
a broken finger. What'd you do?
Okay, so I may or may not have broken my hand. The jury's still out on that.
Your hand or your finger or both?
My hand this time. So I was playing some video games, and there's this one level I couldn't get past.
So this was a video game accident.
I'm guessing he punched a wall. Sounds like he punched something.
We're getting there. So there's this one level. I tried it like 100 times. I could not get past it. That level. And I kept dying every single time. And I got really mad, and in a fit of rage, I almost took my controller and threw it at the TV, and all of a sudden my brain was like, you know what? I'm going to put the controller down and try to just use up this energy. And you know how drivers, when they're mad, get out of the car, they're just like throwing their arms around and stuff?
Or flashing the double birds.
Well, I just started throwing my arms around, and I didn't realize I was as close to the wall next to my bed as I was, and I had just kind of the, oh, shucks, like sideways, like, you know how you kind of pump your arm sideways when you're mad? Had no intention of hitting the wall, but my arm had other ideas.
So you punched a wall and broke your finger.
I punched a wall, and so my hand, for one, is swollen, but so I don't know if it's broken or just swollen or sore.
Actually pretty swollen.
It's swollen, so.
The only thing I know, and I don't know if this is because of the swelling, but I no longer have knuckles on my right ring or pinky fingers. And there's 2 new bumps on the back of my hand behind those fingers, so I can't decide. Schrodinger's hurt hand, it's until I get it checked out by a doctor, it's both broken and not broken at the same time.
And are you going to go to the doctor?
No, because I still have full movement, full feeling, and it's
even though we're twitching,
my hand is all the same color. The only thing that is indicative that there might be something going on is my ring finger. If I like wave my hand, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it kind of flops around a little bit. But it's starting to feel better, so I think I'm good.
Well, I don't think you're going to be putting a ring on that finger anytime soon, so you're probably okay in that
it's my
department.
right hand, so no. So that was my weekend. Did you guys have anything exciting happen to you over the weekend?
You know, no matter what I had happen, I don't think it's going to top that story. So should we just jump into the podcast?
Yes, please.
All right, so I am your host, Jacob Smith, and then to my right is your co-host, Calvin Veen, and then to my left is your other co-host, the one, the only, Aaron McAtee. So, you guys want to just jump into some news before you really get into it? I think this episode's being recorded on Tuesday, January 26th, which is the week before the 24 Hours of Daytona. So we're going to get into that. But first, let's quick news from the past week since the last episode. Not one, but 2 Supercross rounds have occurred. The second Houston round was on Tuesday night, and the third Houston round was Saturday night. So I'll go ahead and start with the second Houston on Tuesday night. Just really quick, in the 450 class, Eli Tomac wins, so good for him. It was a pretty clean win for him. He did a good job bouncing back from a not-so-great first-round win, or not win, but loss, like outside of top 10. And then I think the biggest kind of controversy from that night was Ken Roczen, Jace Anderson, Martin Davalos, and Vince Friese were all penalized for jumping when the red cross flag was out, which basically means there's a rider down, so they have to attend to him. Definitely Ken Roczen was most vocal, I would say, saying that he could not see the red cross flag. And so they got penalized because they did break the rules, but at the same time, I think the AMA should look at where they place their flaggers on the track. Because if you can't see the flaggers, then come on, guys.
Well, yeah, that's still always been a problem in motorsports.
Yeah.
We saw it. You know, we talked about last week on our podcast with Elio and Paul Tracy at the 2002 Indy 500 of who saw the lights and when, and even was it Monza this year where Pierre Gasly won because Lewis Hamilton didn't see a yellow flag on the pit entry and lost the race, essentially.
Exactly.
So that happens, and I don't know how you fix it, though.
Well, the AMA is notorious for things like this, and they seem to have a good way of just flat out ignoring them and blaming the riders too. So I do kind of side with Roxon here. This is not the first time that riders have had issues seeing flags, and it seems to never be addressed, at least officially. And so that was kind of the biggest situation. Everything else, the racing's been really close this year. I'd say closest it's ever been. The way these tracks have been, they're very fast. The lap times are very close together, so it could really be anyone's race. So then going into round 3 on Saturday, there was an insane battle between Ken Roczen and Cooper Webb on the last lap. Cooper Webb was starting to close in on Roczen, and Roczen was in the lead until a lapped rider, Dean Wilson, kind of slowed him up, which allowed Webb to pass him with only a few turns left. So it was a really close finish, especially for Supercross standards. But despite losing the race, Ken Roczen still secured the points lead going into the next round. And that whole situation itself actually kind of caused even more controversy in the Supercross series. A lot of people were pretty upset about Dean Wilson kind of holding up Ken Roczen. And Dean Wilson has also issued an apology. He just didn't realize Ken Roczen was behind him. So they're kind of settling it now, kind of apologizing. And Ken Roczen was obviously upset because it cost him the win. But again, I still wonder if that's an issue where Dean Wilson did not see the blue flags that he should have seen.
Yeah.
So there could be a trend starting up here about how they need to officiate these races and look at ways to improve that. That's pretty much all I got for Supercross, at least in the 450 class. We haven't had a chance with this episode to cover as much in the 250 class. I wouldn't say a whole lot happened outside of the usual. Colt Nichols got his first win of the season, so that was pretty interesting. And then round 3, Jet Lawrence did a blatant takeout move on Michael Moseman. In fact, if going into a turn, if Michael Moseman wasn't there to stop Jet Lawrence, I don't know what row up in the grandstands Jet Lawrence would have landed into. So that was a little over the top, I think. It was a little too aggressive.
I mean, I know this is, two-wheel racing, but when you're learning how to drive, isn't the first lesson having 8 brakes is better than 4?
I think Jet Lawrence was legit going after Michael Moseman, trying to take him out. That's what it looked like to me on the camera. So if Moseman wasn't there to stop him, Jet Lawrence, the speed he was going into that turn, as I said, he would have landed in the grandstands. He wouldn't have even stayed on the track at that point. So, but that's Supercross news. So I guess we should move on to some more pertinent stuff to IndyCar.
That everyone cares about.
Everyone cares about Supercross. What are you talking about, Aaron? All right, but let's get into the next subject. How about?
It's a subject we teased on the podcast when it was just a rumor a couple weeks ago. I think we talked about it, but
I joked about it as if, this isn't going to happen, and we spoke too soon.
Think it happens. Well,
it still hasn't technically happened, but it looks more obvious.
Seems very official. NBC Sports Network, the TV home of motorsports in America, is going away. Well, what do you guys think?
I don't like it.
No,
that's the first impression I have.
The motorsports of how we know it, of being able to watch it on TV, on cable TV, may sadly be going away.
Will it though? I mean, there's the fear. I see it written here. You guys said that it could go to Peacock, the NBC streaming service.
And that's a rumor, and I think that's. It's hard for me to think that they wouldn't have at least the races themselves on cable TV,
Yep.
But. We're in 2021 now, and you just don't know the direction of how different things are going to go. We've seen a lot of changes last year, so it's hard telling. Wouldn't be surprised at anything at this point.
I will say this, guys. The only reason I have cable TV to begin with is just so I can watch races.
Yep.
That's it. That's really it.
So if it goes to Peacock, would you no longer have cable and get Peacock instead of cable?
So to watch the Supercross races without commercials, I already have subscribed to Peacock for $5 a month.
Well, there you go.
Because they discontinued my NBC Gold. But because if everything is going to be on Peacock for $5 a month, Like if I could pay $5 and get not just my dirt bike racing, but IndyCar, sports cars, NASCAR,
It becomes a good deal.
Instead of $100 a month or whatever your cable is.
65.
Yeah, I'm 65 for cable, and I'd probably still keep it just based on what I watch. But if I get more beneficial racing for a small fee, because I've always been subscribed to the IndyCar Gold package on NBC Sports, and
Yeah, we all were in. What was that? $60 a year.
it's $60 a year. It's not much.
So
different.
$5 a month. That's $60 a year.
It's break even.
But that's $60 a year to watch more than just IndyCar. Have more than just an IndyCar pass, but have a pass for all, sports programming.
Yep, and the NBC streaming whatever too. So you get more. Maybe I can
So-
finally watch The Office.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So at first, on the surface, I was pretty upset, but then I realized I don't really watch anything else on cable.
And
I don't need to pay $65 a month if I only need to pay $5 or $10 a month to get the extra premium package to watch even more content.
And everybody's kind of freaking out about it, but we don't know really any facts yet. Nothing's
Right.
been confirmed. I mean, looking at where we are right now, there's talk of moving some of the motorsports properties to the USA networks, NASCAR, possibly IndyCar. And in terms of cable packages, the USA network is available on more packages at a lower price than the NBC Sports Network currently is. So it's more accessible. It's the second biggest cable network to ESPN.
Yeah. Well, that kind of becomes more of my concern is NBC has kind of made a push to be the motorsports destination.
Yeah.
But if different racing series start trying to go to other networks, say like ESPN or Fox, I can only pick one. I'm not going to, I don't want to get to a point where you end up paying the same
Yeah.
just to get the few races you want to watch. So I think for right now, if NBC does remain focused on being the main motorsports provider, I actually think this could save me money because I don't think I need cable for my personal entertainment because
Yeah.
I have YouTube for other non-racing videos.
And really, I mean, where it looks at right now, NBC's been a pretty good partner for IndyCar. Last year on Big NBC, IndyCar had the same number of races as NASCAR. And for the next year, it looks like IndyCar has 9 races scheduled on network TV. So that's pretty substantial out of our 20-race calendar, give or take COVID numbers.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So they're being good to us. Like, I doubt they would throw all this momentum and effort away.
And honestly, I already have, but I would pay $5 a month to see both or any of the races I want to see.
Well, that's how they get you. They've got us hooked. We're hooked. We're going to pay whatever it takes to watch our races. So wherever they want our money, they will put it.
But the cool thing for me personally is they're giving me an opportunity to cut the cord.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of, for me, I think this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. That is the excessive amounts I pay for 1 or 2 channels I would actually watch, that I actually do watch on cable TV.
I think brands, like IndyCar and other sporting sanctioning bodies, develop a brand identity and they kind of reel in the consumer, and they have a very large or very small group of devoted fans. And I think that very small devoted fan base, if they tell them to jump, they're going to say how high.
Well, let me throw this one more thought out here. If for some reason we do go behind a paywall on Peacock, what if by doing this we get our IndyCar races commercial free?
Supercross
They
is
do that
already
now, don't they?
Supercross
NBC
is
Sport?
already commercial free on Peacock.
So
The only thing I do not like about, I don't know what the $10 a month version would be like, but the $5 a month, it's live. You can't pause it or rewind it or even record it. At least I haven't figured. If they have that feature, I haven't figured out how to do it. At least with the Xbox that I stream it through. But
They probably save it. I have like Discovery Plus, and you can go on there, and it's like on demand.
I had NBC Gold, and it was very easy to use as far as
Mm-hmm.
wanting to record stuff or go back and watch replays. So I could so that's still something I'm not sure. From what I can see right now, that's not an option for at least for the $5 a month Peacock, and maybe should just stick my foot in my mouth if there's just a way to do it, and I haven't figured it out. But
If any of you know,
it's not
how
the
to-
same as gold. Like gold, you just like Netflix, you just press the button and it pauses, or you just rewind it. Whereas I haven't seen any features like that so far.
If any of you listeners know how to pause Peacock and want to teach Jacob how, I will put his phone number in the description here for you to find.
Let's not.
Only business inquiries only. All the females stick to the dating apps.
But so I think that's the biggest setback so far. And I have to go back and read the details because maybe the $10 a month is where you unlock those features.
Either
But
way,
I don't know.
I'm willing to wait and see what happens. I'm not ready to throw a fit.
Same
yet.
here. I'm not ready to throw a fit. And honestly, Supercross is commercial free with the $5 a month option. So if all of them go to that, because I think one of my biggest complaints with IndyCar racing, they've really started getting abusive with this, is the goddamn commercials. There are so many. The most critical parts of the races too, because they save them for all of them for the very end.
You got NBC Sports though, Gold. I mean, and then they have no commercials.
Well, not when I'm visiting my parents over the weekend.
And I'm gonna if
and
I watch
watching
the
it on
race,
cable TV.
I'm gonna put the race
I
on my
thought they
big
were the
TV.
ones
I'm
that-
gonna watch on big NBC or whatever on my TV. I'm not gonna go.
Remember
through Gold.
ESPN side by side?
They still do. They still do that.
They do that, and then they come back and then they go to a commercial break.
Yeah, it's the worst. So if this is a more, at least, more affordable even option to not have to deal with that, shut up and take my money.
I will pay more to watch less commercials. I've been spoiled with Formula One and the Mother's Polish coverage. So no commercial breaks, ad-free is the way to be.
Yep. So this,
As far
I'm
as
actually, so at first I was a little pretty skeptical, but I'm actually kind of curious to see how this kind of turns out. And hopefully this is a better option for us race fans in the long run.
I think certainly there's a light at the end of the tunnel, regardless of what this might look dark right now. It'll be good as we go forward here.
All right, other news. It looks like James Hinchcliffe was officially announced as a driver of the number 29 Genesis back entry for Andretti Autosport.
So this is the biggest secret in motorsports. None of us saw this coming.
Yeah, a little bit of sarcasm there.
So yeah, I mean, Hinch raced 6 races for the team last year.
Right.
Oh.
Did
And-
better than some of his teammates.
And probably
In
the
those 6
only
races.
thing that people probably didn't know was what exact Andretti car he was going to be in. And at that point, does it really matter?
No, it's interesting. Looks like they're only running 4 full-time cars this year instead of the 5 we had last year. So
Mhm.
it'll be Hinch along with Colton Herta, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Alexander Rossi, and we got Marco for the 500. So
And maybe some other races too.
So they're running 4.5 cars next year.
yep. So I mean, it's
Well,
Yep.
it makes you wonder if the crew is just going to be part-time or if they're going to have if they're going to use them somewhere else.
I think with a team as big as Andretti, they've got enough places they can move their crew.
Right. That's good.
Between their Indy Lights, their Rally Cross, the
I don't think they're
IMSA
doing-
program, they're invested in a lot of things. Formula E, so
Yeah.
they can find competent crew even if they're not on IndyCar.
Are they in the
full-time.
Extreme Series too?
I don't believe they're in the
That's
Extreme
just
E,
Ganassi, I think. Yeah.
so it's interesting, but we'll see. Good to see James Hinchcliffe back in a car.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's easily a fan favorite too. So, yeah, I think I don't think there's a single person that's upset by the news of
No.
James Hinchcliffe coming back full time,
Nope.
except maybe my uncle.
Maybe
Who-
Zach Veach.
My uncle Zach Beach too.
Okay.
My uncle's a huge Ed Carpenter fan, and he'll never forgive Hinchcliffe for taking him out in the 500 that one year. But everyone else, besides my uncle and Zach Veach, I think are okay with this news.
Yep, I don't see many complaints. He's entertaining. He's a good racer. He certainly deserves to be there. So, well, should we jump into our main segment here for the night?
Yeah, I think there's only really one big thing that we can cover this
Yep.
week. There's
And if we want to cover it, we want to be a real racing podcast.
It is race season, guys.
It has begun. The Daytona 24 preview from the perspective of the Pitstop Power Hour presented by Race 92. It's here. It's finally here, guys. The 24 hours of Daytona. Arguably the kickoff to the four-wheeled racing season. I'm pumped. So let's discuss some of the biggest highlights going into this year's race.
Yeah, let's cover it up. There's been a lot of team changes, a lot of driver changes. So to overview it as much as I can, Team Penske is not competing this year. The 2 Acuras that were being driven under the Penske banner, one Acura is now Wayne Taylor, with the drivers such as Alex Rossi, Elio moving over. And then the other one went to Michael Shank Racing with, I think, Dane Cameron,
Juan Pablo
Montoya, yep.
Olivier Pla, and AJ Allmendinger.
Yep. Allmendinger's always been a Shank driver, so
Yeah.
he didn't move. Dane Cameron moved over with one of the Acuras. Ricky Taylor is back at his dad's team now. And then the Cadillac that was the race-winning car with Wayne Taylor last year has gone to Chip Ganassi, along with Scott Dixon and Renger van der Zande. So winning drivers, winning car, moving teams.
Yeah, that and I guess maybe not as big a news. WeatherTech is kind of upping their game. They're moving from sponsorship from the GT Daytona class to the GTLM Porsche team. So that's kind of a newer thing, at least for the GT classes. That's probably the biggest news, at least. The ones that made the biggest headlines was just WeatherTech increasing their support by moving up to the GTLM class.
Certainly moving up, but in the GT class, there's been a lot of teams over the season that have folded. They're here for Daytona, but if I'm not mistaken, for most of the regular IMSA series, Corvette is one of their only teams competing, or one of very few teams competing.
And something important to mention about Corvette is Jordan Taylor is now part of the number 3 car.
He switched cars?
He's part of the Corvette team because last year he was still with his dad, wasn't he? Or was he still in the Corvette car?
He's been in the Corvette for a couple years now.
Okay, I'm a little behind on the news.
Yep. He's been with Corvette for a couple years now, so.
But yeah, I think one that I'm pretty sure is the BMW team that's only doing Daytona.
Yep.
They're a pretty big factor in previous years as far as a full-time team. So that's kind of a bummer, but at least for the Daytona 24, we have a pretty stacked field this year. I'm pretty sure it's a lot bigger even than last year's field.
There's, I think, 50 cars, or 49 because one pulled out due to COVID concerns. But
yes, the team owner, I believe, tested positive.
Got to be safe. Wear your masks, everybody. So 49 cars is still incredible.
And there was a stat of how many former F1 drivers were in it, and I forget the number, but it was like 7 or 8.
F1 winners or drivers?
Drivers,
okay. So
maybe closer to 10.
Maybe we can talk through some of the notable drivers within all these teams here. And
so before we get into that, let's start with what happened this past weekend, the Roar at the 24. So this is the first time they're doing this format this year?
And by that format, you mean the qualifying race determines starting positions for the Rolex 24.
Yes. So What's your initial impression?
It's just to add a little more excitement to the whole thing.
It's a very NASCAR thing because they do the same thing for the Daytona 24.
It's gimmicky, sure, but I mean, as a race fan, I will always take another race.
Yeah, it's to build it up.
I mean, yeah.
When did they make this announcement they were going to do it like this?
It was pretty late in the year last year.
So this was triggered by COVID,
They compressed the schedule for sure, because originally the Roar, the practice was very early January, like right into the new year.
Right.
And they had a couple weeks to go back and prepare and clean up. This year it has been nonstop. They showed up Wednesday, I think they flew in to be on track Thursday or Friday, and they had the race this weekend to qualify. And I will be honest, I am not 100% sure on what the schedule looks like for this week, but I assume more practice. And
yeah, pretty much. So what I had seen, they had a qualifying on Friday, so you had to qualify the race. How many times do you have to qualify to get into this race or to determine your starting position in this race? That to me was a little confusing. And I think a lot of people expressed that kind of sentiment.
Yeah, that makes sense. That is confusing to say I'm qualifying for a qualifying race. Maybe you just set the lineup for the qualifying race based on your practice times or random draw. If you're going to have gimmicks, you might as well make it fun.
Random draw would be good. Do you guys remember, this is off topic, but the the Texas.
The Texas doubleheader. I was just going to say,
where they turn the tires.
get all the drivers to go up there and turn some tires around.
And I believe the points leader at the time, McAtee, conveniently got the last starting position.
And his rival Will Power was like 6 or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on. If you guys want to kind of zhuzh it up a little bit outside of your typical race, do something absolutely insane like that.
While we're at it, why don't we do the classic Le Mans start and have all the drivers run across the track?
Oh,
and
yeah,
jump
it'd be
in their
great.
car?
Why not?
You have the flag man stay on the track too.
And let's also turn half the field the other direction so they have to dodge each other throughout the track.
Remember that Tony Stewart interview?
Yep.
That's what I'm referencing right now.
Prototypes will go one way. GT cars will take the oval.
So yeah, I think the sports car, I'm not used to that because we don't have anything like last time it happened in an IndyCar. People were kind of like, what?
It's not traditional, but we need to do things to keep new fans engaged and make it exciting for those that might have tuned on TV. This was another televised event for IMSA that in years past wouldn't exist.
Yeah, and it's given us an additional topic to talk about too.
Yeah.
Amongst all of the fans. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
And the thing is, too, qualifying for a 24-hour race almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know.
Especially qualifying to qualify for 24 hours.
So is it worth the extra strain on the equipment
or racing to qualify?
and the added risk of crashing, which did happen
Actually,
for some cars?
Some cars
A
are
lot of
certainly
cars.
the crash. The risk you never want to crash.
I believe there is even some cars that didn't even participate. We'll just start at the back of our class.
Yeah.
But for teams like Ganassi, they showed pretty strong in the qualifying race.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't finish as well as they wanted to, maybe. But for me, I would call that a good warm-up to get the drivers working together, learning how to change positions well, get your pit crew warmed up and doing live pit stops again. So I think that gives you a little bit more to it. So I think there is some benefit in being that warm-up. That's why, you watch before the Indy 500, the extra cars might run the Grand Prix or an extra race just to get everybody back in the groove before the big one.
Yeah. Well, and given the timing, there's no other, outside of dirt bike racing, there's really no other racing going on. So it gives you another race to tune into.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they do it again next year. And we'll all kind of get used to it over time if they keep doing it like that. But it's a very NASCAR thing. So like me is more of an IndyCar follower. I'm not as used to it. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what not just fans but teams and drivers' opinions are of it. And then the other big news with the War Before 24 is Felipe Nasser's Cadillac was did not pass tech inspection. So they are now at the back of the starting grid for the Daytona prototypes, which makes the Mazda car actually the pole winner, or starting on the pole for the 24 hours. So that's kind of interesting. The one Mazda, without any teammates or anything, they have a pretty good showing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're definitely my dark horse pick, for sure.
I don't think we're in that segment yet, Jacob. You got to save that.
Oh yeah, you just wait, everyone. We're getting there.
Same. Yeah, it's good for Mazda. They've certainly come on well in the last couple of years. I know back when, I won't say 10 years ago when we were in college watching the races here, Mazda was never really the strongest in the 24-hour race. They focused more on the other races.
That's an understatement, Calvin. Mazda was having a really tough time trying to get up to speed.
And these last couple of years, they've come along strong, coming really well. They're
Zoom,
sitting
zoom.
on pole.
Zoom, zoom.
Zoom, zoom.
Honestly, like years ago when we first saw Mazda, and you told me that they were going to be starting on the pole,
I wouldn't have believed it.
I'd say stop smoking whatever it is you're smoking.
I would have said zoom, zoom.
They always had the speed. They just never had the durability. But they've kind of conquered that in the last years or two. They've
Yeah.
had a couple of wins, which were new to the program, and
Zoom, zoom.
So we have more than 2 manufacturers that could win this race.
yeah,
We have 3 now.
Yep.
Assuming all 7 prototypes do not crash out or have mechanical issues. We almost saw that one year for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which was insane.
You want to mention some of the notable drivers? Let's start with the DPI class.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are kind of the drivers that aren't your full-time drivers typically. So I'll just kind of run down the list. So Scott Dixon will be in the number 101 Chip Ganassi Cadillac.
I also want to point out his teammates on that car because you don't have them noted here. He's joined by Kevin Magnussen, who first race out of F1.
Yep.
Marcus Ericsson, his Chip Ganassi IndyCar teammate. And I am now drawing a blank on who the last driver is. I've got it. Sorry, I'm failing here.
It happens to all of
Ranger
us.
van der Zande, the defending race winner. I said
Yep.
that
Yeah.
earlier in the podcast. So
So look for the Chip Ganassi Cadillac, number 01. Definitely a pretty stacked driver lineup, to say the least. We have Sebastian Bourdais in the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac.
I believe that is an all-French driver lineup, if I'm not mistaken.
So joining him are Tristan Vautier, who has competed in the Indianapolis 500 in the past.
Yep.
And Loic Duval.
Yep, that's it.
Sometimes those French words and names can be pretty hard to pronounce. So moving on down the line, we have Alexander Rossi and Elio Castroneves in the number 10 Wayne Taylor Acura. And that team, by the way, that car is the defending champ.
The car is the defending champ. The team is. The car is not.
Well, the number 10 car, I'm just...
The number 10 won, but it was on the Cadillac that is now at Ganassi.
I think we've made that quite clear.
I know, but it's a good distinction.
Well, the number 10 car, it takes a team and a team of drivers to run a car.
Well, the thing is, all the drivers changed too.
How many times has a number 10 car been in victory lane the past 5 years?
Or been very close if it's not there.
Pretty much every year.
No, and it's been multiple chassis, and it's always there.
Yep.
But so we have Alexander Rossi, Elio Castroneves. Those are kind of the big, like, outside of the sports car world names. But we also have Ricky Taylor, who is a very accomplished sports car driver in his own right, and then Felipe Albuquerque rounding out that team. So I think we'll talk about it later, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. And then we have Chase Elliott, the number 31 Action Express Wellen Engineering Cadillac.
Defending NASCAR champion.
That's worth noting for sure.
Does he know there's right turns in this one?
I think he's figured it out.
Okay.
I think
he figured out that he needed to drift in dirt at the Chili Bowl, so...
He's a great driver. I wouldn't worry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then moving on, I'm kind of jumping between driver lineups and show notes here, but Jimmy Johnson and Simon Pagenaud.
Jimmy Johnson, who's that guy?
Action Express Ally Cadillac, or even Simon Pagenaud.
Is Jimmy Johnson this rookie IndyCar driver that might make something of himself someday?
Yeah, this
he
this
is a
new guy
rookie
on the block. This is also a rookie sports car driver, I think.
No, he's not. He's
Okay.
done Daytona.
Was it 10 years ago?
It's been over 10 years ago.
All right, so he's not a rookie.
I think it was with Action Express, if I remember correctly. It was a Gainscope car. He might have done it a couple times.
And he does have Kamui Kobayashi, at this point,
he was one of the winning drivers on the car.
he's a
last year.
renowned sports car driver at this point. I think he's won Le Mans as well.
Kobayashi drove an F1 as well.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. So again,
in terms of stacked driver lineup, that's another one to look at. Like, this whole field is stout.
I'm getting pumped the more I look at the more I just remind myself of who all is in this race.
And we can't overlook the last notable person you have there, or team.
Juan Pablo Montoya,
the greatest driver in the world.
Allmendinger.
Yeah, I can't really argue against it.
Let's not get into that today, guys. The number
Mario
60
Andretti is.
We're not getting into that today, Aaron.
Okay.
The number 60.
Danica Patrick.
So they will be in the number 60 Meyer Shank Acura.
And which teammates do they have on that car, if you can refresh me here?
Let me find it really quick as I jump through
Dan
screens.
Cameron, Olivier Pla, Juan Pablo Montoya, and AJ Allmendinger.
That's what I thought. Thank you, Aaron.
All right, so moving on. So the DPI class, wow. I can't wait to see
It doesn't
what happens.
stop there, though. This whole field is pretty well stacked.
So shall we move on?
Yes, please.
LMP2, there's 10 cars total in the class. I just have a couple of notable names that are outside of the full-time sports car circuit. So we have Austin Dillon in the number 51 RWR Eurasia And help me with the pronunciation of this manufacturer, Ligier.
Yeah, close enough.
Ligier?
Yeah, it's probably better.
Ligier.
It's French.
Ligier.
There you go.
All right. Obviously, accomplished NASCAR driver. Curious to see what he does in that car. Ben Hanley, the number 81 Dragon Speed Orica. I think I can pronounce that one. Ben Hanley, if I do recall, was the one that bumped Fernando Alonso from the field.
No, that was Kyle Kaiser.
Ben Hanley, despite all odds, secured himself
Yeah.
in the field, so he was not in danger of being
So,
bumped.
well, he was one that they didn't think was going to make the field.
Right.
Right, and he was
And
pretty safe.
because he,
He qualified,
as well as he did, it put Fernando Alonso on the bubble, essentially.
it left Fernando in the shootout to see if he would make the field.
And then it was Kyle Kaiser that bumped Alonso.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Ben Hanley driving the car as well as he did, Alonso would not have been on the bubble.
Nope. So we'll give
The rookie. He was
and
a
this is
rookie.
something. I mean, Dragon Speed is a great sports car team, so this should be,
Yeah.
a very stout effort for them. So there, and then you have noted Robert Kubica racing the number 20 high class racing car. So
And he's a ex-Formula One driver. I believe he did rally, and that's where he got hurt really
had
bad,
a
wasn't it?
very nasty accident that has left him. I'd say it almost severed his arm, so he basically drives one-handed now.
And he came back into F1 after
Came
that.
back to F1, and results were not what he wanted, but
Yeah, but
mean-
when you look at what he went through and the fact that he was able to return
absolutely.
to one of the biggest motorsport stages in the world is very impressive for sure.
Yeah, so good.
So those are kind of some highlights from the LMP2 class. Sorry to cut you off, Calvin. Very amateur move of me. So are you guys ready to move on to LMP3?
LMP3.
LMP3.
All right, moving on. We have Oliver Askew and Spencer Piggott in the number 74 Riley Motorsports Ligier.
Maybe by the end of the show you'll get it.
Ligier.
There you go.
So I'm fairly confident that assuming they don't make any mistakes or have no mechanicals, I'm going to put my money on that car to win the LMP3 class.
Yeah, but I'm kind of excited for the performance tech team. I think that one's interesting. So they have a veteran sports car racer, 51-year-old Cameron Castles driving alongside 3 teenagers. You have 19-year-old Rasmus Lind, who's coming up the road to Indy, alongside 16-year-old Ayrton Ori, who's coming up the road to Indy, and then 16-year-old Matteo Lorena. So if you want to do some quick math, the average age on that car is not too high.
Good
And-
luck.
And this LMP3 cars, I was looking at the times a little bit. They do about the same speeds as the GT-LM cars, correct?
Yep, they're intermixed or slightly faster than, yeah.
Depending on how good the driver is in either car, pretty much.
I mean, all of these kids are pretty well-respected drivers and coming up the road to Indy.
It'd be very
seen them
interesting to see how
race,
they do.
They're on the big stage now with some big-name drivers, but I don't expect them to be any, issues. I'm curious to see how they do.
All right. Do you guys want to move on to the GTLM class now?
Sure.
So I'd say the biggest takeaway that I have is I'm curious to see which manufacturer wins this. There's a lot of experienced sports car drivers in this class. I'd say we noted him earlier in this episode, Jordan Taylor in the Corvette. I believe they're looking to defend their title,
I think
defend their win from last
did Corvette
year.
get it last year? I honestly don't remember if it's on my head.
Well, let's not mention it in case we say
You will
something
be.
wrong.
I've learned when we say something that's not correct, we do get corrected, usually on Facebook or something.
Okay, let's say Corvette won last year, and you guys can just correct us.
Thank you to those that fact check Jacob on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
It's actually me. I think most of the time they're fact checking, so I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I will make a statement. Jacques Villeneuve, the uncle, qualified for the, now I don't want to get it wrong, 1984 Indy 500, not 74. So thank you.
That's why I didn't get the question right.
So I'd say like the biggest thing that I'm going to pay attention to for GTLM is I just want to see the battle between Corvette Racing, the WeatherTech Porsche team, Ferrari, and BMW.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. We're
It's-
going to find out.
going to be fun to watch for sure.
And so moving on, to the GT Daytona class. There are 19 cars in this class. That's a lot of cars. That's pretty stacked.
It's a lot of slow cars for the prototypes to be weaving in and out of around the track.
And this is not the biggest track in the world.
No.
They are not going to have a moment to relax. They are always going to have lapped cars to work around.
And lap cars are going to have to defend their positions with fast cars trying to get through them.
So yeah, what do you guys think would be harder? Being in the fast car, just going around the lapped cars, or being in a GT Daytona car, trying to run your own race, but then also keep another set of eyes in the rearview mirror the whole time?
I mean, if we're driving one of the prototypes, I'm going to be wetting myself trying to hold on and keep up with the speed. And if I'm driving one of the GT Daytonas, I'm still going to be wetting myself, and then I have to worry about Juan Pablo Montoya coming up in my rearview mirror.
Yeah, like, if you're trying to make a pass, you can't make that pass yet until you make sure that no one's going to trying to get around you as well.
I mean, that's the art of sports car racing, right? Being able to navigate traffic and survive the 24 hours.
Absolutely.
And be there to win at the end.
Before I get fact checked again, it was 1986 Indy 500, not 1985. So I just did a double negative there.
We're on a Daytona 24
I
hour
know,
podcast.
but I understand
We're
that.
talking
if
about
you want to join
Daytona
this
24.
podcast,
Someone was going to correct me again, so just throwing that out there.
Okay.
You can continue.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
didn't need to bring that up.
I just did.
we're gonna get back to our
conversation.
podcast here that we've been planning on and talking about.
So I think one of my favorite things to see on when you watch it on TV is the in-car camera of a prototype. Just weave it in and out of all those GT cars. I think it's going to be even crazier this year than it was last year, easily.
As long as it stays safe and everybody can make the passes cleanly and no bad accidents. I think back to was it Memo Rojas a couple years ago?
Memo Gidley.
I'm sorry, yes.
That was back when we were in college. That was
I remember that
several
one,
years
but
ago.
that's the case of the high speeds and the slow cars. And
that was actually an ex-IndyCar driver as well. He
Yeah.
never made the 500, but he attempted to. But
so those things
Alright,
always
it was
scare me
actually
a
in
little bit.
2002. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do think though, overall, this field, maybe I just recognize more of the names, but they seem a little more experienced in recent years.
this is one of the better fields for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, never say never. But these guys are professionals.
Yep.
I think we're good
We're in
shape.
for a good race.
And a few notable names, I'd say, in the GT Daytona class, if I can stop tripping over my words here. So some of the names that I noted that have had successful careers in other forms of racing, or at least made it to some of the higher levels. We have Zach Veach and Townsend Bell, and the number 12 Vassar Sullivan Bayshore Recycling Lexus. That's a mouthful there.
And if I'm not mistaken, they have Aaron Thielitz and Jack Hawksworth as teammates. Is it in the same car or in the sister car, if I'm not mistaken?
I believe so. But now I have to jump back.
So
and
those are
make
two
sure.
great drivers that were successful on the road to Indy. Jack Hawksworth making it to IndyCar. And that's a pretty stacked team in itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Jack Hawksworth is on the other car.
Yeah, sister car, that's what I thought.
So
And he's proven to be a very, very fast sports car driver.
He's a great sports car driver. He was a great, Formula car driver too. Just circumstances didn't seem to work in his favor.
And then we have J.R. Hildebrand in the number 42 NTE Sport Audi.
Okay.
And then Ed Jones and Ryan Briscoe on the number 63 Scuderia Corsa Ferrari. That's probably my pick for the GT Daytona class.
It's a fair pick.
I feel like Ferrari, the Scuderia team, always has a strong showing. And then you get guys like Ed Jones and Ryan Briscoe. Come on. Come on,
Those Vassar Sullivan cars will be hard to beat, though, too.
Yes, but I'll agree to this. Scuderia Corsa, I think.
Huh?
That's what racing's all about, guys.
Should we put some money on this one?
Yeah, so kind of a hot take. We've been chomping at the bit this whole
Yep.
episode. The hot take this week's going to be a little different. We dive deep into a subject and debate it, almost like a debate club. Sometimes it's a hypothetical what-if situation. Other times it's a pertinent to real-world events in motorsports, and this one is probably the most pertinent to a current event in motorsports than we've ever done on this podcast. It's a little different because we're not going to come up with a singular answer this week like we have in the past.
For this one, I actually put the rule in that we cannot come up with the same answer.
So for this week's hot take is we each picked one car in the DPI class. And basically, we're going to give our reasons as to why we think that car is going to win the 24 Hours of Daytona this year.
All right, Jacob, who'd you pick?
Yeah, Jacob, you go first.
So I picked number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Konica Minolta entry. Minolta.
Konica Minolta, yep. That's
Konica
the sponsor.
Minolta. And this is my reasoning. Wayne Taylor Racing is always strong at Daytona. They're the defending champs, and I kind of wanted to get into it earlier when we were talking about some of the changes to the manufacturers, but Wayne Taylor Racing is strong no matter what car they're in. They were strong. They were winning races back in the old Daytona prototypes, the bigger looking ones.
Yep.
I don't know what you call it. I don't know.
It was back in the Grand Am days.
Yeah, the Grand Am Daytona prototypes. I guess that's the best way to put it. And then when they moved to these newer ones, they still win. I mean, they're good. And they have a star-studded driver lineup. Ricky Taylor is no rookie to winning the 24 Hours of Daytona. Elio Castroneves, didn't he win the championship last year for Penske?
Yep, they won the team championship. Was it Elio? I know Penske got it.
He was on that team, even if it was a sister car. He was a part of the same program.
Yep.
Alexander Rossi, he's good in anything you put him in.
Oh, absolutely.
Then Felipe Albuquerque, he's going to do really well too. So you have a really star-studded driver lineup. They're starting fifth, but I don't think your starting position really matters in a 24-hour race. So yeah, Wayne Taylor Racing, they've won this race a lot. They know how to win this race. Some of the most spectacular finishes in the past have been Wayne Taylor Racing barely holding off the competition. And even like 1 year, didn't they come up from behind and win like within the past like half hour of the race?
Yeah, last year they had a pretty good come from behind moment.
So they are always going to be strong at 24 Hours of Daytona. As I mentioned, the strong driver lineup, but also Team Penske won the championship last year with the Acuras. And now Wayne Taylor has an Acura.
See, those are great facts, but I'm going to tell you why you're wrong about all of those. Because the winning team is going to be the Chip Ganassi car, the Cadillac, which they had taken over from Wayne Taylor Racing, the very Cadillac that won the race last year and has proven strong with Wayne Taylor Racing in the past several years. Ganassi has the race-winning driver lineup from last year of Scott Dixon and Renger van der Zande. They also have Kevin Magnussen and Marcus Ericsson, who are very talented drivers. Mike Hall and the rest of the Chip Ganassi team are very good strategists. I don't see them making a mistake. Their seventh place position in the Roar Before the 24, the qualifying race, maybe not as good as we'd like, but as we established, qualifying doesn't really matter for a 24-hour race. And they seemed a lot stronger in the race than the results showed. So that is why the Ganassi team is my pick.
They just haven't been as strong as Wayne Taylor Racing, though.
They weren't there last year, and before that they were running the Le Mans car.
They were not here last year.
A guy named Scott Pruitt had no success with Ganassi, though. So
that is
he had
true.
success in other teams, though, too.
Well, I hate to crash your guys' party, but neither one of those teams is going to win. Whelen Engineering Racing Team is going to win.
Why?
That's an interesting pick, Aaron.
Well, you remember the 2019 24 Hours at Daytona?
Vaguely.
Who won that?
I'm going to guess it's this Whalen team based on the way you're talking.
No, it was Fernando Alonso's team. It was the number 10.
you set me up for failure there.
Wait. Did you just say Fernando Alonso in the number 10 car?
Yeah. It was number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing.
But
no, hold on. You're not getting where I'm getting. You don't know where I'm getting with this.
In the Cadillac.
Stop.
In the Cadillac.
You don't know where I'm getting with this. Felipe Nasser was leading the race, and he spun out because he had a little extra pressure from a two-time F1 world champion.
So you're saying he cracked under pressure?
Yes.
From the Wayne Taylor car.
But Fernando Alonso wasn't in the race this year, so I'm gonna have a little bit more faith restored in him and that team, and say that I think they can get it done, and I think
isn't this Chase Elliott's first ever sports car race?
And they also
Daytona
were the
24?
fastest in the Roar Before the 24. So you got to give him some credit there.
So you've got Chase Elliott, the
but
NASCAR
they failed
champion.
tech inspection.
He won NASCAR, so he's going to win the 24 Daytona.
It's all left turns. This is not the Daytona Oval. I don't know if he knows that yet.
He won. He
He'll
still
at
won
least
road
do
course
good on
races.
part of the track.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, I will at least say you're right that a Cadillac will win the race.
Now, I think the Acura program is. I think Acura is going to outlast the Cadillacs.
I mean, I get it. It's very hard not to pick the Wayne Taylor Racing team when you look at how many races, how many 24 Hours of Daytona they've won in the past 5 years.
They won the 2019 and the 2020 Daytona 24. They are steamrolling into this, and there is nothing slowing them down at this
If
point.
I was allowed to pick them, I probably would have.
Oh, okay. So I think Aaron just switched teams here.
Just said you're not allowed to pick the same team, so I guess that's what Aaron gets for coming to the show late and prepping late.
But to your point, Aaron, there was a point in time when Felipe Nasser was leading the race.
Yeah.
So
And
maybe,
he spun out. But
he could have learned.
He could have. So we'll see.
He's got 2 years of
I
experience.
may be right.
You know who doesn't crack under
Or may not
pressure,
be
though?
right.
Scott Dixon.
Juan Pablo Montoya,
Did we even mention the car he was in?
the Iceman, Scott Dixon.
It was not one of our picks. We did talk that, Montoya is in the Meyer-Shank Acura.
Never rule out Montoya.
You can't rule out Elio Castroneves or Alexander Rossi though either,
How many?
or the Taylor. Hold on, I gotta look at my.
There it goes again.
Out of all those championships that Elio got, he finally got the sports car championship.
Yeah, he's coming in with a lot of momentum,
He's finally peaking in his career. Is that what you're saying?
peaking, but he's still on the peak if he is. So quickly recap what we were talking about. I'm going with the Wayne Taylor car. I don't know how you can not. They are clearly the best team.
That's
at the
easy
Daytona 24 Hours of Daytona.
because the best car and the best drivers have migrated to Ganassi and away from the Wayne Taylor team. And Aaron's picking a
They
pick
weren't
out
good
of left
enough
field.
for Wayne Taylor.
I like to come out of left field, so there's your left field pick.
Well,
It's not
they were close
completely
in
out of left
they were
field, though,
close in
so they've been
2019.
there.
They were really
And-
close in
And it's a
2019.
Cadillac.
It's a Cadillac, and they were fast in the qualifying race.
I
will
think
give you that.
Acura's got it together now. I think that Acura is going to be a serious threat for.
Okay,
any
I'm gonna
of the
wrap. I'm
Cadillacs.
gonna wrap this little discussion up before we get any more out of hand.
So, well, those are our three picks: Wayne Taylor Racing, Chip Ganassi, Whalen Engineering. Those are our top three picks.
If you disagree with us or agree with us, maybe
Let us know.
maybe a comment would be appreciated on your on the YouTube video, on the podcast subscriptions, wherever you're listening, watching. We appreciate it.
Awesome.
And tell Jacob he's wrong.
I'm the opposite of wrong. I am very right on this.
Do you know what time it is?
What time is it, Aaron?
About 8:05.
It's time for the pit stop challenge.
That's an annoying sound.
The average IndyCar pit stop takes around 10 seconds. But anyway, we have three questions, potentially three questions. Well, technically two questions, potentially three. And technically you have 10 seconds to answer each one. Best 2 out of 3 wins. Who's winning right now?
I'm pretty sure I'm undefeated. I am 3-0.
This may be Calvin's
I'm
night.
about to be 4-0.
If the answer is Danica, I got a shot.
We'll see. First question. Who was the third woman to drive in the Indy
Danica.
500?
It's Danica.
Lynn St. James. Sarah Fisher.
Jacob Smith.
That's a
Bam.
trick question. I don't like it.
Yeah. Calvin, you got to start reading.
Okay. Who was the last driver to win both the pole and the race for the Indy 500?
Simon Pagenaud.
Calvin, you're just struggling. You are struggling. Jacob Smith is just one.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, Calvin.
I told you what to make the answer. You put a trick question in. I think you asked the question wrong. I think that's the problem.
Did you have a third force just in case we needed a tiebreaker?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
Who won the pole for the 1911 Indy 500?
Danica.
Technically, they did not win the poll because it was a draw.
Here we go. Here we go.
As far as who it was, technically it was Carl Fisher, and the pace car was actually a part of the field.
It was Lewis String.
Yeah, see, I would not have got that one. Calvin might have. Calvin's been on a roll with these.
Yep, I am So far, my streak is unbroken.
That's true. Neither is mine. I wish the camera was working because I wish you guys could see the look on Calvin's face right now.
It's a beaming smile, as you would expect.
Well, I think we're about ready to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, we're at that time.
Make
of
a couple
the show.
quick announcements real quick. Remember, check out Race 92 for all your racing vintage apparel needs. We have 4 24 hours a day. Sorry, we have 4 sports car shirts for a race that's coming up here in the next couple of weeks, inspired by 24 Hours at Daytona. There's 3 David Land shirts. There's 1 exclusive Race 92 shirt. We have a special podcast code.
We do. Use the code podcast10, and Aaron and Jacob will give you 10% off of your order.
And wait, there's more.
There's more?
Watch David Land's YouTube channel for another additional 10% off for a code.
Well, you guys are giving away all your profits. It's kind of generous of you.
We're very generous people, Calvin.
Okay.
But check out David Land if you want to get another promo code. And if you are listening to this podcast, you unfortunately you missed the window for getting your Daytona 24 inspired shirt. But you always have the 24 Hours of Le Mans coming up. So, also, if you want to write into the show, maybe you have your own hot take. Maybe you want us to cover a certain topic. Where can you get a hold of us?
Oh, that's
Aaron?
a question for me.
Yeah, Aaron, that is.
Well, you can send us comments on YouTube. We have an email, pitstoppowerhour@gmail.com. Send us a message on Instagram. Send us a message on Facebook. Tweet at us at what's our Twitter handle?
Race 92 Racing.
What's our Instagram handle?
Race 92 Racing.
What's our Facebook handle? Race 92 Racing.
Race
We're
92
very easy to
Racing.
find. So check us out on social media. Send us a message.
Yeah, so if you have any ideas, topics you want us to discuss,
Or if you want
maybe
to tell Jacob why his pick for the Daytona 24-hour race is wrong.
even that, if it's compelling enough, we'll bring it up on the show and give you a shout out. So, well, guys, I think that wraps up this week for the Pit Stop Power Hour presented by Race 92. If you like the show, please rate and subscribe. And if you didn't, well, let's just pretend this never happened. Sound good?
Like a bad Tinder date?
Exactly, Aaron. For the rest of you, we'll see you next week.